Welcome to Her Agency, the podcast. I'm your host, Brandi Rand. This is a space curated for Black women in advertising who are bold enough to pick up the pen, write the brief, take up space, and own their agency.
I feel like in this industry, a lot of times we feel most valuable or esteemed when a company pays for this or there's an exclusive invite to this. And while that is important, like we should get those investments.
Right.
I made a decision, like if it's something I want to go to, I feel like I'm going to learn or I'm going to create some impact, like I'm going to prioritize investing in it for myself.
That's so good.
And so I'll give you an example. After about maybe being passed up to go to the Cannes Lions, maybe three times, I think. And even though I was the head of the largest department in the global organization executing the work, I was passed up to go. And I said, you know what, like, let me stop waiting. Let me stop being on the sidelines. This is something that I feel is valuable for me. So I'm going to set my intentions to go. No matter what company I'm with, I'm going to go. I want to experience this. I'm going to go. And so as soon as I made that intention, and things just started coming and flowing my way. And the funny thing about it all that I didn't expect is that I started to, and that's just one example, but I started entering in these spaces from a selfish place versus being a puppet or representing the company. That became secondary. So while there was reward for the company,
for the affiliation,
and for my presence there, it became about my interactions, my engagements, my thought leadership, my learning. And I try to tell people, especially those earlier in their career, if it's something that you really want to do, don't wait. Because especially as Black women, like getting those opportunities are few and far between because we've got to razzle and dazzle and go above and beyond and still not be seen.
Still not.
Valuable. So yeah.
That's a very valuable lesson. And I think you and I had that same decision at the same time because
we did.
Yeah, we did. We both went to Cannes for the first time in 2024 after I'd been in the agency 17 years and hadn't gone. Now, mind you, I wasn't the chief creative or, typically they send the creatives or the very high level people, but being a strategist, working in social, leading influencer programs. And I was just like, well, why can't I go? So my little story about Cannes, when I made up my mind, I just said, hey, there was FOMO. So, the year before, 2023 was popping. And LinkedIn was, I was just like, whoa, the FOMO was so real. So I told my husband, I said, babe.
Yes, especially us.
Look, it was Black at Cannes. Like, it was, So I was like, I need to be in the building. But I knew my company wasn't going to send me just based on my role, even though I was leading one of the largest accounts at Digitas at that time. So when I made up my mind, I was like, let's start putting some money to the side. And I remember when I got there, that conversation, the through line of owning your agency to be in the building, not necessarily have the full Cannes ticket, but be on the corset, talking to the people, being at the Inkwell and just going to all of the different activations. A lot of people, I'd say about 90% of the people I talked to who look like us was there on their own dime, was not sent by a company. And I just love the power that we're taking back in the industry to put ourselves in positions of power and to have necessary conversations because it's really where a lot of the networking and the big deals are done.
Agree.
So
my network has grown so much since that time.
What is the one time you used your agency in your career?
Ooh, in my career, this is a hard one for sure. I would say the time I used my agency in my career was when I left a job that was not serving me. And that was very scary because I think I had always seen it as I can just push through. And that was the one time I truly listened to my gut. I listened to myself. I knew it wasn't serving me. And so rather than trying to force myself to stay at this place, I looked for other opportunities. And then I took my talents elsewhere.
Yeah, you took your ball to Miami.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's really important to understand to be in spaces where we're celebrated, right?
Yes.
And not tolerated.
And that was the problem with this place. It was very clear that I was being tolerated. And I had recently learned about people like Bozeman St. John.
Right.
And so I became really fascinated and fell in love with this idea of I wanted to show up someplace fully and authentically as myself.
Absolutely.
And I realized this was not going to serve that mission. And so, I left.
I'm interested. Let's build on that just a little bit. How long did it take for you to get to that point? And really, because, there's this thing called quiet quitting that's happening, and people are just kind of staying and floating around and not really taking that initiative, owning the agency and making the decision to up and leave. So how long did it take for you to get there?
It took me about 6 months.
Okay.
In reality, and this is going to sound like the craziest story ever, I should have known within a month. And the person that told me was actually Barbara Corcoran.
Oh, wow.
So she came to visit and do a podcast interview at this place that I worked for. And I was very new, very green, had only been there for almost a month, not even a full month.
Okay.
And I remember I was so excited to meet her because I love Shark Tank.
Yeah, she's a big deal.
A huge deal.
Yeah.
And so I was so excited and she came. And so she was like, I'm willing to take pictures with anybody here.
Okay.
And I said, okay, great. And so I ran up to her and I had my phone and I handed it to one of my coworkers and they took a couple pictures and Barbara went, how did the photos look? The person that took them. And they were like, they're fine. And handed me my phone. And as I was walking away, Barbara grabbed my arm.
Okay.
And she said, you need to leave this place.
What did she sense?
She said, this is clearly an important moment to you. And if they won't even take the time to make sure that this is the picture you want to commemorate this important moment, I don't think they're ever going to fully respect you.
Facts.
And what's crazy is because I was so new, I was like, okay, lady,
right,
weirdo. Like, I went from like, this is one of my virtual mentors to kind of like, this lady is crazy.
No.
And now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah,
absolutely.
A month in, I should have just immediately been like, oh, this isn't the right fit. And there's nothing wrong with saying I'm in the wrong place. Let me cut.
What I learned is if you have leadership that wants to do the right thing, but doesn't necessarily have the strategy to do the right thing, it won't get done. And you won't really have the impact that you intended to make. And so I was the girl that I knew I needed community. I had signed and raised my hand to be a part of all these organizations, but the community just, for whatever reason, kept falling flat. When fast forward to leading Onyx and hearing all the stories of systemic bad behavior on behalf of colleagues, peers, clients, I knew that there needed to be an opportunity for people to really have a safe space, have connection, have community, and learn from each other. Energy for me is everything. And if I meet someone that doesn't have the right energy, I can tell instantly, and I just don't continue to allow myself to be in that space. Energy is something that's a language, and that's really the main language that I speak. I speak the language of energy. So what I mean by that is when you meet people and you can tell they're having a bad day, I still create a space of openness and opportunity and empathy to kind of see what it is, because we all have bad days, we all have bad moments. But if you're just intrinsically a negative person and someone who just doesn't tap into the opportunity to see the lighter side, not a toxic positivity, but just the opportunity to be aware and vulnerable and considerate of other people's feelings, it's just not a good fit. And in the advertising world, working with clients and problematic peers, agency life's not for everyone.